a law which is under discussion even at this time. The law upon the periodical press traced a more decided line of demarcation between the parties. Berthier was the reporter. I made a part of the commission with our president, Dono Cavani, the friend of Mirabeau, Geneseux, and Anjou. After the 18th Fructidor law had placed the newspapers for 1 year under the inspection of the police, the end of it was almost arrived. We proposed a penal law founded upon the judgment of the jury of the public offenses of the press, and upon the promulgation of the law, the preventative action of the directorial police was to cease. Till then, all the members of the commission were agreed, but ought there to have been a fixed period assigned for the promulgation of our law. The majority of the commission, formed by Dono, Berlier, Geneseux, and myself, decided for the affirmative. We were impatient to deprive the police of its dictatorship. We inserted in the second article that the dictatorship would cease at the end of 3 months, a time fixed in which the council engaged to terminate the penal law. The discussion was stormy. Our colleagues, Cavani and Anjou, declared they had not voted that second article and demanded the suppression. The directorials wanted to postpone for 1 year the dictatorship of the police. They caused our article to be rejected and triumphed again over the opposition. But our penal law assigned to the jury the judgment of all the public offenses of the periodical press. 38 years have passed since that sitting. What progress have we made in the constitutional guarantees? Has France marched forward since that time? Montauban-de-Mier, year 7, from the 22nd of September to the 22nd of October, 1798. Dangers of systematical opposition. 1. The powers. The end of the year 6 of the Republic had been marked by a most inauspicious event. The vague report, which was spread of the disaster of our fleet in the Bay of Aboukir, was unfortunately confirmed in the first days of the year 7. I beg leave to observe that I do not class the events in that precise order of dates, but according as the news arrived to us in the capital. Nelson, received in triumph in the Bay of Naples, hastened to the manifestation of the hostile sentiment of that court. During the time that the British hero arrived from the coast of Syria, the General Mack, too soon celebrated by fame, hastened from the banks of the Danube to take the command of the Neapolitan army, increased beyond all proportion by precipitate measures. The future exploits of Mack appeared to be indubitable at that court. Misled by a hatred that could not be considered without motives except in forgetting the scaffold of Marie Antoinette, nothing was talked of but Mack upon the southern frontiers of the Roman states. Austria and the Empire retarded for a length of time the negotiations of Verstadt and were far less seriously occupied with the protocols and with armaments. Our plenipotentiaries had to combat a powerful adversary, the Comte de Metternich. Paul executed his menaces. With one hand he drove his fleet into the Bosphorus, struck with amazement at the aspect of the vessels of the Tsar and the Sultan sailing together. With the other hand he precipitated 50,000 men, children of his melancholy deserts, into the fertile countries of Europe. That horde, commanded by the terrible Suvorov, had already traversed the plains of Lithuania and touched the gates of Krakow. The port, abandoned by our government to the English diplomacy, saw only in our expedition the invasion of its provinces. She signed a triple alliance with London and Petersburg. It cannot be dissimulated that the expedition to Egypt was the cause of that triple alliance, and that it was in favor also of the Russian influence at Constantinople, a result that sways even now the European politics, a result more prejudicial, more fatal than the triumphs of Suvorov, equally owing to the absence of generals and soldiers of our great fleet. England, reassured upon Ireland, contemplated a second coalition against France. The Piedmontese, tired of our pretended alliance, armed 10,000 men, whom they promised as auxiliaries, but whose dispositions, like those of the population, announced the most bitter enemies. Our provident and skillful General Mesnar had a great deal of trouble to prevent a popular insurrection against our garrison at Turin, and some solitary murders had stained the streets of that capital. At length the Republic of the United States retired from us also, to approach the near to our enemies. By dint of unskillfulness and obstinacy, the agents of that directory had forced our natural allies to forget the memories of Louis XVI and Lafayette. Washington had personally approved of the alliance with England in accepting of the command of the armies of the Union.